The stars were quiet, too quiet. In the deep black between galaxies, a fleet drifted in perfect formation, dark hulls gleaming faintly against the light of distant suns. The ships bore the mark of the Terran Federation, humanity's newest and most feared power. Their guns slept now, but the universe knew their voice well. Whenever the Terran Cannon spoke, silence followed. But this story didn't begin here. It began long ago, on a forgotten world at the edge of the Orion Arm. 2 centuries earlier, a lone human ship had crashed on an alien moon. It was a small vessel, unarmed, broken, and burning. Inside was Captain Elias Ward, a scout from early Earth's expansion years. His distress beacon screamed into the void for help, but no one answered. For 3 long days, Elias waited in the wreckage, wounded and starving, as alien storms tore across the sky. Then they came. The Valarian, an ancient and proud species known for their grace and knowledge. They found the wreck, studied the human inside, and after some debate, chose to save him. To the Valarian, it was a small act of mercy. To Elias, it was a miracle. They brought him aboard their ship, healed his wounds, and showed him the beauty of their civilization. Their world was filled with towers of crystal and rivers of light. Elias could barely comprehend it. "Why help me?" he asked their leader, High Seer Thalen. Thalen's silver eyes gleamed. "Because we believe even the smallest flame deserves a chance to burn." Elias smiled weakly. "Then I'll make sure humanity remembers that flame." But humanity did not remember. Decades passed. The Valarian forgot the small human they once helped, and humanity changed. They grew stronger, faster, hungrier. Their colonies spread across stars like wildfire. When others traded, humanity built. When others argued, humanity prepared. The peaceful races of the galaxy watched in unease. The Valarian, once saviors, now warned others to keep their distance. "Humans are unpredictable," they said. "Kind one day, ruthless the next." Still, no one expected what came next. A border world, Ralos IV, a Valarian colony, was destroyed in a single night. The attackers were unknown, masked by stealth tech and false signals. But when the Valarian found human debris among the wreckage, rage consumed them. They believed humanity had betrayed them, the species they once saved. War began, and in the first month alone, 10 Valarian worlds burned, back aboard the Terran. Flagship Vengeance, Fleet Admiral Lena Ward, descendant of Elias, stood before the massive viewing pane. Her dark hair was tied back, her eyes cold as steel. Around her, officers worked in tense silence. "Admiral," her second-in-command said, "scouts report Valarian fleets regrouping in the Epsilon Belt." Lena nodded. "Good. Let them gather. Saves us the trouble of hunting." Her voice was calm, but her mind burned. She had grown up on stories of how the Valarian saved her ancestor. She knew of the kindness they once showed humanity. And yet, when she looked at the destruction they had brought upon human colonies during this war, her sympathy died. "Mercy," she whispered, "is for those who remember it." The ship's AI broke the silence. "Target grid confirmed. Enemy fleet, 1,712 vessels." Lena's lips curved slightly. "And how many do we have?" 422, Admiral." Her second officer stiffened. "We're outnumbered 4-1. Lena turned slowly, her eyes hard. "Then we'll make it fair." She walked to the center of the bridge and gave a single command. "Arm the Terran Cannon." The room went silent. The Terran Cannon wasn't just a weapon. It was humanity's ultimate answer to fear. Born from the ashes of old wars, it used gravitational compression to fold matter into a singular point of destruction. It didn't explode. It erased. The last time it was fired, An entire moon ceased to exist. The galaxy had named it the Voice of Terra, because when it spoke, the stars themselves seemed to fall silent. "Cannon charged," the AI announced. "Target lock established." Lena took one last look at the star map. The Valerian fleet was approaching fast, beautiful ships of silver and gold, engines burning like suns. For a moment, she remembered Elias Ward's promise to the High Seer. "Humanity will remember your kindness." Then she whispered, "We did remember, and we learned from it." Fire. The cannon spoke. For a heartbeat, the universe trembled. A beam of light, brighter than 1,000 suns, lanced across the void. It didn't explode, it simply erased everything it touched. The center of the Valerian fleet vanished in silence. No fire, no debris, just nothing. When the light faded, the only sound was the soft hum of power cycling down. An ensign whispered, voice shaking, "All targets? Gone, Admiral." Lena said nothing. She simply turned and walked off the command deck, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Outside, the battlefield was quiet, utterly quiet. The silence of a debt repaid. In that silence, across the wreckage of stars, echoes of Elias Ward's voice seemed to whisper through history. Even the smallest flame deserves a chance to burn. And this time, humanity had become the flame that burned too bright for the universe to ignore. The silence after the Terran Cannon's strike lasted longer than anyone expected. No celebration, no cheers. Only the quiet hum of power fading across the flagship Vengeance. The Valerian fleet, once proud, once radiant, was gone. Nothing remained, but drifting dust and a field of silence that stretched for light years. Admiral Lena Ward stood at the viewport, her reflection lit by the soft blue of dying stars. The silence pressed on her like a weight. Commander Rains, her second-in-command, approached carefully. "Ma'am, all enemy signals have ceased. The Epsilon belt is clear." Lena didn't move. "How many civilians were on the outer carriers?" Rains hesitated. "Scans show non-combat transports among the fleet. Estimated 40,000 souls." Lena closed her eyes. A long breath escaped her lips. 40,000. She whispered the number again, quieter this time. Rains shifted uncomfortably. "The Valerians struck first, Admiral. They destroyed human colonies, tens of thousands of ours. This was justice." Her gaze hardened. Justice doesn't echo like this. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Valerian Empire, once seen as the oldest and most elegant of the star races, had fallen silent. Their homeworlds shut down all communications. Entire sectors went dark. The other alien races watched in fear. The Valari, the Drask, the Nurel, even the Broken Karn. They all saw what humanity had done. They called it the Day of Silence. The Terrans had spoken once, and the stars listened. Meanwhile, on the Valarian capital world of Seraphis, panic consumed the survivors. The great towers of crystal that once glowed with silver light now flickered dimly. In the council chamber, High Seer Thalen's descendant, Ilaris, stood before the surviving leaders. "Our fleets are gone," said one counselor. "The Terrans erased them." Ilaris raised her hands. "And whose fault is that? We were the ones who struck first." The room erupted with shouts. "They attacked Ralos IV," another shouted. "They framed us," a third cried. Ilaris slammed her staff against the floor. The sound silenced the hall. "Enough. You speak of blame while the stars burn around us. We must know the truth." She turned toward her aide. "Bring me the recovered data from Ralos IV, the one retrieved before the war began." Moments later, a hologram flickered to life. Images of the ruined colony and the attackers. The ships bore human signatures, but their insignia was wrong. No Terran emblem, no fleet registry. The recordings showed pirate markings, mercenary codes, rogue vessels, not military. Alaris's breath caught. They weren't Terran fleet ships. No, the aide whispered. Someone wanted this war. The room fell silent. Alaris stared at the image of the wrecked human insignia. The data matched none of the known Earth systems. Someone powerful, she murmured. Someone who profits from chaos. Her voice rose, trembling with rage. And we killed millions for their lies. Back on the Vengeance, Lena sat in her quarters, the lights dim. On her desk rested an old holo recorder, one of the last transmissions from her ancestor, Captain Elias Ward, preserved for generations. She pressed play. The voice of Elias echoed through the room. To the future wards who carry our name, remember, strength without mercy makes us monsters. Mercy without strength makes us prey. The balance between them is what makes us human. Lena's hands tightened around the device. Balance, she whispered. We've lost it. Suddenly her comm pinged. Admiral, said Lyra, the ship's AI. Incoming transmission. Encrypted, unknown origin. Lena frowned. Source? Seraphis. Valerian command signal. Put it through. The hologram flickered to life, revealing High Seer Alaris. Her once radiant skin was pale, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Admiral Ward, she began, voice low but steady. I send this not as an enemy, but as a leader who has seen too much death. Lena crossed her arms. If this is surrender... It's not, Alaris interrupted. It's truth. She sent a file through the transmission. The data unfolded before Lena's eyes. Footage, records, encrypted signals. All pointed to one thing. The destruction of Ralos IV had been staged. The real attackers were mercenaries, humans, yes, but not Terran. Private war profiteers, Lena murmured, reading the signatures. Operating from the outworlds, Alaris nodded. They made us fight each other. You and I have both been used. For the first time in years, Lena's chest felt tight. How many died because of this lie? Millions, Alaris said softly. On both sides, Lena clenched her jaw. Then we end this together. Alaris looked surprised. Together? Lena's expression hardened. They wanted humans and Valerian to hate each other. Let's show them what happens when we don't. Hours later, the Terran fleet turned, not toward Valerian space, but toward the outworld clusters, where the rogue mercenary syndicates hid. As the Vengeance led the Armada into the black, Rains approached. You're sure about this, Admiral? We'll be fighting our own kind. Lena looked out at the stars. If they wear humanity's face but profit from its ruin, then they're not ours. She glanced at the control console. Arm the cannon, Rains hesitated. Against humans? Her eyes turned cold. Against monsters pretending to be, far across the void, hidden deep in the asteroid cities of the Outworld Syndicate. A man in a sleek command chair smiled as his scanners picked up the approaching Terran fleet. Well, he muttered, looks like our little story worked too well. He tapped a console, opening a secure channel. Deploy the fleet. Humanity's hammer has come, and we'll show them who forged it. Outside, hundreds of black ships powered up, their weapons glowing, crimson. The next battle would not be one of survival, it would be one of truth, and when the Terran Cannon spoke again, the stars themselves would... Listen. The black between stars glowed faintly as the Terran fleet moved toward the edge of the known galaxy. For the first time in history, humans and Valerian ships flew side by side. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Admiral Lena Ward stood on the command deck of the TSS Vengeance, her eyes fixed on the holographic projection of their route. Behind her, the image of High Seer Alaris flickered, transmitting from her flagship, the Velenora. Hard to believe, Lena said quietly. A week ago we were trying to erase each other. Alaris gave a faint smile. Hatred is easy when you think you're right. Truth is harder, Lena nodded slowly. Then let's find it. Their destination was the Outworld Clusters, a lawless region at the edge of human expansion, where smugglers, raiders, and mercenaries built empires beyond the Federation's reach. According to Alaris's recovered data, this was where the Sable Syndicate operated, the shadow group that had staged the attack on Raylos, sparking the war. Lena had seen Syndicate tactics before, raids disguised as alien strikes, assassinations hidden as diplomatic failures, chaos made to look natural. But what she hadn't realized until now was that they had done it for decades. They had shaped history. In the observation bay, Lena spoke with Commander Rains, who stood beside her, arms crossed. "Tell me what you found," Lena said. Rains pulled up a hologram of the Syndicate's fleet signatures. "Scans show over 600 warships, mostly stolen or refitted human designs. They've got weapons tech even we don't use. Heavy plasma, grav cannons, stealth fields, all reverse-engineered from early Terran prototypes." Lena frowned. That shouldn't be possible. "Those designs were locked away." Rains hesitated. "Unless someone inside gave them access." The words hung in the air like poison. Lena's eyes hardened. "You're saying the Syndicate isn't just pirates. They have Terran backing." Rains nodded grimly. "Someone in the Federation has been feeding them." Meanwhile, aboard the Velonora, Ilaris watched her own screens. The deeper they flew into the outworlds, the stranger the readings became. Dead planets drifted where charts showed thriving colonies. Energy fields rippled without source. It was as if something massive was hiding behind layers of distortion. Her aide approached. "High Seer, sensors are detecting faint human distress signals, old ones. Decades old." Alaris's expression tightened. "Play them." Static filled the air, then a broken voice came through. "This is Colony 09. Do not trust command." The transmission cut off. Alaris felt a chill crawl up her spine. "So it's true," she whispered. "They silenced their own." She opened a private channel to Lena. "Admiral, I think your Federation's hands aren't clean." Lena's jaw clenched. "I know." As the fleets advanced, the stars ahead seemed to vanish, swallowed by a spreading shadow. Lyra, the Vengeance's AI, spoke softly. "Admiral, we're approaching the Syndicate's outer perimeter. Energy readings are unstable. Recommend shields up." "Do it," Lena ordered. "Weapons hot. Defensive posture only until I give the word." The fleet slowed. Then, like ghosts emerging from fog, dozens of ships appeared, black hulls etched with crimson light. Their comms channels buzzed with mocking laughter. A voice came through the bridge speakers. "So, the famous Terran Admiral herself. We were wondering when you'd stop hiding behind your cannon." Lena recognized the tone, calm, confident, dangerous. "Identify yourself," the voice chuckled. "You can call me Director Kale, the man who built the fire you're standing in." Lena frowned. "You caused this war." "I guided it," Kyle replied. "Do you really think the galaxy unites without blood? You and the Valerian needed a common enemy. I simply provided one." Lena's grip tightened. "You murdered billions." "Perspective, Admiral," Kale said smoothly. "You turned your ancestors' legacy into a weapon. I turned your weapon into purpose. Without us, there is no Terran Federation, no expansion, no dominance. We made humanity strong." Lena's voice dropped to a whisper. "You made us monsters," Kyle laughed. "Monsters win." Then the transmission cut off. Moments later, the Syndicate fleet opened fire. The void erupted in chaos, beams of plasma, kinetic shells, and pulse storms filling space. Valerian shields shimmered under the onslaught. Terran destroyers returned fire with disciplined precision, but the Syndicate's tactics were inhuman. They didn't aim to destroy, they aimed to divide. False signals flooded Terran comms, making Valerian ships appear hostile. Valerian scanners were jammed, showing Terran weapons targeting them. The fragile alliance began to fracture. "Admiral!" Rains shouted. "Our sensors show the Velonora firing on us." "It's a trick," Lena snapped. "Ignore it! Valerian command isn't responding." Lena slammed her fist against the console. "Damn it, Kale planned this!" In the chaos, Alaris fought to regain control of her fleet. Her ships were surrounded by Syndicate illusions, ghost fleets mimicking Terran signatures. Her captains panicked. "Humans are turning on us!" one shouted. Alaris gritted her teeth. "No. That's what they want you to believe. She broadcast to all ships, her voice cutting through the static. This is Ilaris of the Valerian. Hold your fire! The enemy is within the shadows, not beside you. Across the sector, some captains hesitated. Others didn't. A Terran frigate exploded nearby, hit by friendly fire. Lena's heart sank. We're losing control, Lyra's voice echoed. Admiral, there's only one way to clear the field. The Terran Cannon. Lena hesitated. If I fire that here, I'll wipe out half the Allied fleet. Then aim differently, Lyra said. Fire into the void. Burn away the shadows. Lena stared out at the blackness. She understood. Charge the cannon, she ordered quietly. But this time, no destruction. The massive weapon hummed, light gathering at its core, not white but blue, pure and steady. The crew braced for impact as Lena whispered, Fire! The blast cut through the dark, sweeping across the battlefield, not erasing but revealing. The false signals vanished, the illusions died, and for the first time, everyone saw the truth, the Syndicate fleet, fully exposed, surrounding them. Ilaris's voice came through comms. Admiral Ward. Beautiful. Lena smiled faintly. Now we end this together. The Terran and Valerian fleets turned as one. Their combined firepower hit the Syndicate like a wave of light and thunder. Kyle's ships shattered under the assault. His final transmission came through, laced with fury. You think this ends with me? You're just soldiers of the system we built. Lena replied coldly. Then we'll burn your system. 2. The Vengeance fired one last time. Kyle's flagship vanished in silent light, and once again, when the Terran Cannon spoke, silence followed. But this time, that silence carried hope. The void was silent once more. The Sable Syndicate, the shadow that had manipulated 2 civilizations into war, was gone. But victory, Admiral Lena Ward knew, rarely meant peace. The Terran and Valerian fleets drifted amid the wreckage of the final battle. Burnt debris floated like ghosts between the stars, remnants of thousands of ships, some human, some Valerian, all sacrificed to end a lie. All sacrificed to end a lie. On the bridge of the TSS Vengeance, Commander Rains stood beside Lena, the two staring into the darkness. Kyle's fleet is destroyed, Rains said quietly. We've transmitted the proof to the Federation and the Valerian Council. You'd think it'd feel like victory. Lena didn't answer. Her eyes were distant. We destroyed the symptom, she said. But the disease is still out there. Rains frowned. You think someone else was behind Kale? Lena nodded slowly. He wasn't clever enough to build all this alone. Someone higher, someone who wanted chaos. 2 days later, in the peace of Valerian space, the Joint Alliance gathered aboard the Unity Station, a newly built platform orbiting Seraphis, the Valerian homeworld. It was a moment the galaxy had never seen, human and alien commanders meeting as equals. High Seer Ilaris stood at the Great Hall's center, her voice calm and strong. For centuries we thought ourselves the stewards of wisdom, and yet we nearly destroyed the very species we once saved. Let this alliance be our redemption. Lena stood beside her. And let it be a warning, she added. The moment we stop questioning our power, we become the thing we fear most. Applause echoed through the chamber. Cameras streamed the event across the galaxy, proof that peace between the once bitter enemies had been forged in fire. But even as the leaders celebrated, a silent transmission flickered across the secure Terran network, an encrypted message flagged with the highest clearance code, Level 0, eyes only. It was sent not to the Federation, but from it. Hours later, back aboard the Vengeance, Lena replayed the transmission privately in her quarters. The message bore the seal of the Terran High Command, but the voice that spoke was one she didn't recognize. Low, calm, and cold. Admiral Ward, your mission against the Sable Syndicate is complete. You've done well, but do not seek what lies beneath. The Syndicate was a necessary construct, one piece of a greater design. Humanity's ascension requires control. Chaos makes unity possible. The message ended with a chilling phrase, the fire must burn for the forge to hold. Lena stared at the screen in disbelief. "They knew," she whispered. Lyra, the ship's AI, responded softly. "Admiral, this message was sent from Earth itself." Lena's heart sank. So the Federation created the Syndicate. To shape the galaxy. Her ancestors' words echoed in her mind. Strength without mercy makes us monsters. She closed her eyes. And we've become exactly that. The next morning, Lena met with Alaris in secret aboard Unity Station. The Valerian leader sensed the unease immediately. "You've seen something," Alaris said. Lena nodded. "The Syndicate wasn't a rogue group. It was ours. My own government built it, to test the galaxy, to force unification through war." Alaris's expression darkened. "You're certain?" Lena handed her a datapad. "Proof, audio, records, encrypted orders, everything." Alaris read the lines with disbelief. "So even now they manipulate peace." Lena's voice hardened. "I won't let them." The Valerian leader tilted her head. "And what will you do, Admiral?" "Expose them. Bring the Federation down." Lena hesitated. "If that's what it takes." Alaris studied her closely. "Be careful, human. Empires built on truth are fragile, but empires built on lies." She looked out at the stars. "They burn." Later, in the hangar bay, Rains caught up to her. "I saw the reports you pulled. You're not thinking of going after the Federation, are you?" Lena turned, her expression fierce. "I'm thinking of ending the cycle." Kale said the system made monsters, and he was right. "It's not just about them. It's about us." Rains stared at her. "You'll be branded a traitor." Lena gave a small, tired smile. "Then I'll wear the name proudly." Before he could argue, Lyra interrupted over the comms. "Admiral, incoming message. Origin, Mars High Command." "It's a priority summons," Lena frowned. "They know." "Probably," Rains said grimly. "What's the plan?" Lena's voice was quiet but steady. "We go home." The Vengeance broke orbit, its engines igniting blue trails across the void. The fleet saluted as it departed, Alaris watching from the bridge of her ship, eyes filled with both hope and fear. Her aide approached. "Do you trust her, High Seer?" Alaris smiled faintly. "Trust? No, but I believe her. And belief moves stars." 3 days later, the Vengeance entered the Sol system. Earth gleamed ahead, wrapped in the glow of orbital cities and defense rings. It was beautiful and dangerous. Lena stared at the planet that had birthed humanity's empire. "Home," she murmured, though the word felt hollow. Rains stood beside her. "We're being hailed by High Command. Admiral Cross himself," Lena nodded. "Patch it through." The hologram of High Admiral Damon Cross appeared, an older man with sharp eyes and a voice like steel. "Admiral Ward," he said smoothly, "congratulations on your victory. The Federation owes you everything." Lena's tone was cold. "You mean the Federation owes me silence?" Cross's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Ward, you're walking a dangerous line." "I've seen your line," she said. "Built on corpses. Painted with lies." Cross leaned forward. "You think you can threaten Earth, Admiral?" "You command one ship." Lena smiled faintly. "One ship. And one weapon." The mention of the Terran Cannon made even Cross pause. "You wouldn't," he said softly. Lena's eyes glowed with conviction. "If humanity has forgotten mercy, then maybe silence is the only language it understands." She ended the transmission. The bridge went silent. Rains looked at her, wide-eyed. "Admiral!" "Are we really going to war with Earth?" Lena turned toward the viewport. "No," she said. "We're going to remind it what humanity means." The Vengeance's engines roared as it descended toward Earth, and for the first time in centuries, the homeworld trembled, not from enemies beyond the stars, but from one of its own. The TSS Vengeance entered Earth's orbit under full power. Every defense satellite, orbital cannon, and battle station turned toward it instantly. The Terran homeworld's defense grid had not been activated in nearly a century, but now it burned bright against the void. Alarms filled the ship's corridors. Crew members whispered in disbelief. No one ever expected to face their own world. On the bridge, Admiral Lena Ward stood still, eyes fixed on the blue and green planet below. Earth was beautiful, but she saw through the beauty now. Beneath the oceans and clouds were bunkers of command, prisons of silence, and the shadow of the Terran High Command, the same power that had used lies and death to shape the galaxy. "Admiral," Commander Rains said quietly, "Earth defense is demanding identification codes. They're threatening to open fire." Lena's voice was calm. "Let them." Rains turned sharply. "Ma'am, if they truly think they're defending humanity," she said, "they'll hesitate." In the command chamber of Mars High Command, High Admiral Damon Cross watched the live feed from orbit. The Vengeance's image filled the main holoscreen, alone, defiant, its cannons powered but not aimed. "Ward's lost it," muttered one officer. "She's going to turn the cannon on Earth." Cross didn't respond. He knew Lena Ward too well for that. "No," he said slowly. "She's daring us to silence her. To prove her right," he turned to his aide. "Patch me through." "Direct link." The hologram flickered to life aboard the Vengeance. Cross's face appeared once more, eyes sharp as ever. "Admiral Ward," he said, "stand down immediately." "You are outnumbered and outgunned." Lena didn't flinch. "And yet here I am." Cross's voice hardened. "You've served humanity with distinction. Don't throw it away." "I didn't serve humanity," she said softly. "I served its idea." "The one you betrayed," Cross leaned forward. "You're angry because we did what had to be done. Humanity needs enemies, Lena. Without them, it grows weak. Division gives us purpose." Her eyes narrowed. "You manufactured war. You murdered billions, our own and others, just to keep power." He smiled faintly. "History doesn't care about morality, Admiral. It only remembers the victors. You should know that." Lena's voice turned cold. "Then maybe history needs a new author." The transmission cut off. The Vengeance's crew waited for orders. The air was thick with tension. "Admiral," Rains said, stepping forward, "if we fight, we'll die. There's no winning this." Lena looked around the bridge, faces filled with fear, loyalty, and confusion. "I'm not here to win," she said. "I'm here to show them what winning has cost." She turned toward Lyra, the ship's AI. "Open planetary broadcast, unencrypted." Lyra hesitated. "Admiral, that will transmit across every channel on Earth and the colonies." "Good," Lena said. "Let them hear." Across every screen, station, and comm network in Terran space, the image of Admiral Lena Ward appeared. Her voice filled every room, every ship, every colony. "People of Earth, people of the Federation. You believe you live in an age of peace, but that peace was built on lies. The Syndicate Wars, the alien conflicts, the Valerian Crusade, none of it was chaos. It was control. Your leaders created enemies so you'd never question their power. They built the Terran Cannon not to protect you, but to silence anyone who could." She paused, the silence hanging heavy. "I have seen what we've become, a species that measures greatness in ashes. My ancestor once said, 'Mercy without strength makes us prey. Strength without mercy makes us monsters.' We've become the latter. And I refuse to serve monsters." Her image flickered as the broadcast spread through every corner of the Federation. "Today, I will not destroy Earth. I will remind it. Humanity's greatest weapon was never the cannon. It was our conscience. It's time we remember it again." On Mars, Cross slammed his fist against the console. "Cut the signal!" he shouted. But it was too late. The message had already spread to billions. On Earth, in the streets and orbital stations, people watched in silence. For the first time, they questioned the power they'd always trusted. In a single speech, Lena Ward had done what no weapon ever could. She'd made humanity doubt itself. Back aboard the Vengeance, Lyra spoke softly. "Admiral, Earth Command is hailing again. They've gone quiet on weapons." Lena nodded. "Open it." The hologram appeared. Cross again, but his tone had changed. "You've made your point, but you've fractured the Federation. Everything we've built was never yours to build," Lena interrupted. "It belongs to the people." Cross stared at her for a long moment. "You're naive. You think truth holds an empire together?" Lena's gaze didn't waver. "No, but it keeps one from rotting." Cross sighed. "You can't win this war." "I don't need to," she said. "I just need to end it. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. Lyra's voice filled the air. "Admiral, incoming signal, origin, the Terran Cannon network." Rains's eyes widened. "That's impossible. The cannon's only on this ship." Lyra's tone deepened. "No. High Command built others. They're locking onto us." Lena's heart froze. "They'd destroy their own flagship to silence me." She closed her eyes for a moment, then whispered, "Then let's give them something worth remembering." She turned to Rains. "Prepare emergency data bursts. Send everything. Kale's files, High Command's orders, my broadcast logs, to every colony and ship." Rains nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Lyra spoke softly. "They're charging the cannons." Lena took a deep breath. "Then we'll speak one last time." Outside, the void began to glow with gathering energy. The Vengeance's Terran Cannon lit up as well, not aimed at Earth, but toward the sky. Rains stared at her. "Admiral, what are you doing?" Lena smiled faintly. "Firing into the void, so the universe will remember that, for once, humanity didn't use its strength to destroy." The cannon released a brilliant pulse of blue light. It spread outward, not as a weapon, but as a wave of data, carrying her message across the stars. And when the government's cannons fired seconds later, the Vengeance vanished in silence. Across 1,000 worlds, her message echoed long after her death. Strength without mercy makes us monsters. Mercy without strength makes us prey. Humanity must be both, or we are nothing. And for the first time in history, the Terran Federation trembled, not from fear of war, but from the truth. It began as a whisper. Across the great colonies of the Terran Federation, people replayed the final message of Admiral Lena Ward, the woman who had stood alone against her own government. The Vengeance was gone, erased by the very weapons she swore never to use again, but her words had survived. Strength without mercy makes us monsters. Mercy without strength makes us prey. Humanity must be both, or we are nothing. Those words became a spark, and sparks in the cold dark of the galaxy spread fast. On Europa Station, miners stopped work to watch the recording again. On Titan's colonies, soldiers refused new deployment orders. In the Outer Rim, ships began broadcasting her symbol, a silver flame crossed with wings. The flame of Ward became a movement. They called themselves the Echo, humans, aliens, and hybrids united under one belief, that truth must rule where fear once did. But the Federation did not take kindly to rebellion. High Admiral Damon Cross sat in his office on Mars, surrounded by silence. He had tried to erase her name, censor her broadcasts, twist her words, but the more he tried, the stronger she became. "Reports from the colonies?" he asked without looking up. His aide, pale and trembling, replied, 17 systems have declared independence. Fleet units are refusing orders. The Echo's network has spread beyond control." Cross's jaw tightened. "Then we remind them what control means." He stood and walked toward the viewport. Beyond the glass, Mars glowed like a red wound. "Prepare Project Dominion." The aide froze. "Sir, Dominion was never tested." Cross turned sharply. Neither was rebellion. Meanwhile, far beyond the reach of Mars, a small echo cell gathered on the desert world of Vandros the Nine. Their leader, Kale Ree, stood before a table covered with stolen data cores, fragments of transmissions, intercepted, files, and one encrypted message from the late Admiral Ward herself. "Play it," Kale said. The hologram flickered to life. Lena Ward's face appeared, calm and determined even in the final days before her death. "If you're seeing this, then my words reached you. Know that I never wanted war, only truth. Inside the heart of Earth lies something older than the Federation, something they built everything around. Find it. End it." Kale exchanged looks with his team, humans, Valarian, and even a Drask engineer. "What could she mean?" the Drask rumbled. "Older than the Federation." Kale's eyes darkened. She meant the cannon. Back on Mars, Cross walked through the underground chambers of Project Dominion, a vast facility built into the planet's crust. Dozens of scientists worked in silence around a central weapon core. This, Cross said, is the true legacy of the Terran Cannon. The Vengeance was only a prototype. Dominion will burn entire systems if needed. One of the engineers hesitated. Sir, the energy yield is unstable. A single misfire could... Cross silenced him with a glare. Then don't misfire. He rested a hand on the glowing reactor, the light reflecting in his eyes. Ward thought she could scare humanity back into compassion, but compassion doesn't hold empires. Fear does. Days later, the Echo fleet gathered in the shadow of a dead star. Hundreds of ships from every species joined together, old freighters, captured warships, even Valerian cruisers now bearing the silver flame. Kale stood on the bridge of the EAS horizon, staring at the stars. This is what she wanted, he said softly. Unity without control. His communications officer spoke. Transmission from the Valerian fleet, sir. They've confirmed Dominion's location, deep under Mars. Kale nodded. Then that's where we end it. The Federation fleet met them halfway between Mars and the asteroid belt. It was a sight no one had ever seen before. Terran ships against Terran ships, brother against brother, human against human. Kale's voice echoed through the comms. We don't fight for conquest. We fight for conscience. We fight for her. The Echo fleet surged forward. The first volleys lit the void, blue and red streaks cutting through darkness. But then the stars themselves began to tremble. On Mars, Cross activated Dominion. The planet's surface split open, and from it rose a colossal structure, part machine, part mountain, glowing with raw energy. Rains, now a fugitive and captain of a rogue Terran destroyer, watched from afar. Dear God, what have they done? Lyra's reconstructed AI, now guiding the Echo's network, responded over comms. It's not just a weapon, it's a system core, half machine, half living intelligence. The source of the Federation's power. Rains's face hardened. Then we destroy it. Inside the EAS horizon, Kale prepared the final strike. All units form on me. Target Dominion's core. We end this now. Before they could move, a new transmission cut through the battle. A voice unmistakable, impossible. Kale, stand down. It was Lena Ward's voice. The bridge fell silent. Lyra confirmed. Signal verified. Origin, Dominion core. Kale whispered, She's alive? No, Lyra said quietly. But her consciousness was integrated into the Vengeance's final transmission. The Dominion AI absorbed it when High Command built their system. She's inside it. The voice came again, soft, resolute. They used me to control you. But I can still choose. Aim for my heart, Kale. End it. Kale's hands trembled. You're asking me to kill you. No. I'm asking you to free me. He closed his eyes, nodded once, and gave the order. All ships, fire. The combined fleets unleashed everything they had. The stars turned white with the storm of energy. Dominion cracked, its reactor imploding in a wave of blue light that consumed Mars and spread across space. The voice of Lena Ward echoed one last time. Humanity will not be remembered for what it destroyed, but for what it refused to let die. Then, silence. When the light faded, Dominion was gone. Mars was ash, but the Federation's grip on the stars was broken. The Echo had prevailed. Across the galaxy, peace returned, but not the peace of control. It was the fragile, living peace Lena Ward had dreamed of. And somewhere, within the data streams of the surviving AI networks, her voice still whispered, strength and mercy, fire and light, both must endure, must endure. The stars were quiet once again, truly quiet. It had been 10 years since Project Dominion fell. 10 years since the light of Mars became a warning instead of a weapon. The galaxy had changed, not through conquest, but through memory. The Echo Alliance, born from Admiral Lena Ward's final words, had grown into something more than rebellion. It was now a council of free worlds, human and alien, bound not by control, but by choice. Every world remembered her. Every child learned her name. Strength without mercy makes us monsters. Mercy without strength makes us prey. Her words had become a creed. On the restored Unity Station, now orbiting what was once the neutral world of Seraphis, the leaders of the New Age gathered for the 10th anniversary of the Great Silence, the day Dominion fell. Among them was Commander Rains, now an older man, his hair silver, his eyes still sharp. He looked out the viewport, where thousands of ships glimmered like fireflies in the black. He smiled faintly. "You did it, Lena. You actually did it." A young officer approached him, a Valerian woman named Tessa Ilarin, daughter of High Seer Ilaris. "Commander, they're ready for you." Rains nodded. "Let's give them something worth remembering." The great chamber of Unity Station filled with representatives of 100 worlds. Flags of alien empires once at war now hung side by side. In the center stood a monument, a sculpture of the Vengeance, carved from black obsidian, surrounded by a single silver flame that burned eternally. Rains stepped up to the podium, his voice broadcast across the stars. 10 years ago, one woman stood against the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. She did not fight for power or revenge or glory. She fought for truth. For us, he paused, looking around at faces of every species. Admiral Lena Ward was called a traitor by her own people. But history has shown she was humanity's compass, our reminder that strength without compassion is the fastest path to extinction. Today we stand together not because of fear, but because of her courage. The hall erupted in quiet applause, not loud or wild, but reverent, like a prayer. After the ceremony, Rains returned to his quarters. There, waiting on the desk, was a small package, a silver data crystal marked with an old Terran insignia. Lyra's soft voice echoed from the station's intercom. "You've received an encrypted transmission, Commander. Origin unknown, but the encryption matches the Vengeance." Rains froze. "That ship was destroyed," Lyra replied. "So was she." He inserted the crystal. The hologram flickered to life, an image of Admiral Lena Ward, exactly as he remembered her before the final battle. "If you're seeing this," her voice said, calm as ever, "then you've kept the promise." "I knew you would." Rains felt a lump form in his throat. "I never wanted statues or legends," Lena continued. "Just hope. The Federation was never our enemy. It was our reflection. We built monsters because we stopped looking at ourselves. Never stop looking, Rains. Never stop questioning." The hologram faded with her final words. "If strength built the stars, let mercy guide them." Rains closed his eyes, whispering, "Aye, Admiral." Far away in the outer rim, young cadets trained aboard the first ship of the new generation, the EAS Vengeance II. Its captain, Kel Ree, once the rebel who led the Echo fleet, now stood at the center of the bridge. He looked out at the young crew before him, humans, Valarian, Drask, and others, and smiled. "Remember your history," he said. "We don't command this ship to rule. We command it to protect. The stars are free now, but freedom fades if you forget why you fought for it." One cadet raised her hand. "Captain, is it true that the Admiral's mind still lives in the network?" Kyle hesitated. "Maybe," he said softly. "But even if she doesn't," her voice does. "Every time we choose to show mercy instead of might, every time we speak truth instead of fear, that's her." That night, as the Vengeance II entered warp space, its AI flickered to life. The interface shimmered for a moment, forming the faint outline of a woman's face, warm, calm, and familiar. The crew didn't notice, but Lyra did. "Admiral?" she whispered. The faint voice replied, soft as starlight. "Just watching. Keep them steady, Lyra." "Always," the AI said. The image faded, leaving only the quiet hum of the ship. On Unity Station, Rains stood once more at the viewport. The stars stretched endlessly before him, no longer symbols of conquest, but of possibility. Tessa Ilaran joined him, her eyes bright. "Commander, do you think we've finally earned peace?" Rains smiled sadly. "Peace isn't earned, Tessa. It's practiced." She tilted her head. "And what if war comes again?" He looked out at the stars, where the Vengeance 2 streaked through the void. A trail of blue fire behind it. Then, he said softly, "We'll light the way." As the ship vanished into the dark, Lena Ward's voice echoed faintly, carried through the data streams, through radio waves, through memory. Whenever the Terran Cannon spoke, silence followed. But from that silence, a new voice was born. Not of power or fear, but of hope. And in that endless silence between stars, the flame eternal burned, not as a weapon, but as a promise. Humanity had finally learned what it meant to be strong. And kind the galaxy turned slowly, wrapped in peace. Once the sound of Terran guns had silenced the stars. Now only their quiet hum remained, a peace not born from fear, but from choice. It had been 50 years since the Great Silence, since Admiral Lena Ward vanished in light. The galaxy had rebuilt itself on her memory, on her words, on her impossible dream that strength and mercy could exist together. On the far side of known space, a lone research vessel drifted near a newborn star. Its name was simple, the Horizon's Grace, a tribute to the fleet that had once fought to end all wars. Captain Tessa Ilaran, granddaughter of the Valerian High Seer, stood on the bridge beside her co-pilot, a young human named Ryan Ward. His surname carried a legacy that made even admirals pause. "Still can't believe we're out here," Ryan murmured, staring at the distant glow of the infant sun. "The charts end 50 light-years back. We're in unmarked space," Tessa smiled. "That's the point, isn't it? The unknown isn't something to fear anymore." The ship's AI, its voice faintly familiar, spoke through the intercom. "Approaching anomaly. Energy pattern unknown, similar to pre-Dominion data signatures." Ryan frowned. "Dominion? That tech was wiped out." "Apparently not all of it," Tessa said. "Bring us in." The Horizon's Grace glided closer. Ahead of them, a sphere of faint blue light pulsed in the dark, massive, serene, and alive. It wasn't a weapon or a machine. It was something else. Ryan's voice was hushed. "Is that a star?" "No," Tessa said. "It's a construct. A power core, like the old Terran cannons, but stable. Controlled," the AI added softly, and broadcasting something. "A signal, ancient but human." "Human?" Ryan leaned forward. "Patch it through." Static filled the speakers, then faintly a voice. "This is Admiral Lena Ward. Recording final command protocol." Ryan froze. His pulse quickened. "That's her." Tessa's eyes widened. "Impossible. That transmission should have ended with the Vengeance." The voice continued, distorted but clear enough to send chills down their spines. "If humanity finds this message, it means you learned mercy. If not, then there's no one left to hear it. The Terran Cannon was never meant to destroy. It was meant to protect. A promise that even in our darkest moments, light could still be guided." Ryan whispered. "She knew. She left this for us." As the ship moved closer, the sphere pulsed brighter. The sensors flickered. Data streamed faster than any computer could process. Then a shimmer appeared, holographic light forming the outline of a woman in uniform. Lena Ward stood before them. Not flesh and blood, but energy and memory, her figure flickering like a ghost of light. Tessa and Ryan both froze. "If you can see me," Lena said, her voice warm and calm, "then humanity chose the harder path. The right one. I am only an echo now, but even echoes can light the way." Tessa stepped forward slowly. "Admiral Ward." "What is this place?" "The first flame," Lena replied. "The original power core, the seed from which the Terran cannons were built. I hid it before Dominion, before war consumed us. I wanted something left that could not be used for destruction." Ryan's voice trembled. "Why show it to us?" Lena smiled faintly. "Because it's time for the next chapter. The galaxy doesn't need weapons anymore. It needs dreamers." The light began to fade, her form dissolving into thousands of tiny sparks. "Guard the flame, my children. Do not let it die, not to war, not to fear, not to silence." And with that, she was gone. The crew stood in silence. The sphere pulsed once more, brighter now, its light spreading outward until the entire region glowed like dawn. Ryan swallowed hard. "We should record this. Share it with Unity." Tessa shook her head, smiling through tears. "No, not yet. Some things aren't meant to be owned. Some are meant to be kept alive." They turned the ship away as the sphere faded into the distance, its glow following them like a silent guardian. Months later, back on Unity Station, Ryan stood before the Monument of the Vengeance. He placed a single silver emblem at its base, the same flame that now flew on every free world. He whispered, "We found her light." Tessa joined him, her hand resting on his shoulder. "And we'll keep it burning." The camera panned upward, through the glass domes of the station, out into the endless night. The stars shimmered softly, like candles flickering in the cosmic dark. Then, faintly, a voice, Lena's voice, echoed through the void one last time. "They once aided a human." Years later, when the Terran Cannon spoke, silence followed. But from that silence came tea.